Sunday mornings.
All right, everybody, my name is Malcolm Lee. I was busted in 2014 with 12 kilograms of...
We're missing a mic.
Missing a mic. 12 kilograms of cannabis oil. 116 plants. I have here the transcripts of my trial. I'll read a few little passages out a little bit later. But first I wanted to talk about 3 products which the government backs. One of them is dronabinol, one of them is Epidiolex, and one is Sativex. Dronabinol is synthetic THC. Epidiolex is synthetic CBD. The other one is a 50-50 mix. Okay, so on the trials that they've done, and I've seen maybe 30 or 40 trials overseas, which don't mean anything in New South Wales, what they get with these synthesised drugs is you get a bell-shaped response. Now, everyone know what that means? Anybody not? Okay, a bell-shaped response means that you get the drug there, you feel better, oh my God, I feel really good, and oh, jeez, I don't feel so good, I'm starting to go, I'm back to where I was. That happens every time. Now, when you've got an extract of oil, whether it's CBD, THC, whatever it is, you get this response which goes up there and it tails off and stays high all the time. Now, there are little exceptions where you might have to say take 2 or 3 days off the oil and then it comes back to, because it can go drop a little bit, but as soon as you take 2 days off, you're back up higher again. Now, there's one thing that you must add if you want to add health to this, and that is eat the plant. Eat the plant. All of those, when it gets mature, a female head has got these things called trichomes on it. Trichomes are shaped like a crystal ball with a crystal stalk. Inside those trichomes are a whole bunch of terpenes, what you've listened to, terpenes, flavonoids, phenoids, blah, 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 it goes on and on. These are not cannabinoids. There is one cannabinoid in there called CBGA, and that cannabinoid is the seed cannabinoid for every other cannabinoid. It drops them out. As soon as you put it in your mouth, those cannabinoids go into THCA, CBDA, CBCA, CBL, blah, 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 the 140 cannabinoids, so I hear. I don't know how many. I don't care. They go into the acidic form. So you're eating it, and the acidic form has a different magnetic signature than the activated form. When it's, I don't know how to explain this, but if you've got the docking in space, there's an electromagnetic field, and this thing comes in within 1/100th of a millimetre. You can't crunch it. So that's just a great big magnetic field. These things that you've got on your cell, on the outside of your cell, every now and again a little receptor pops up, and it only lasts for half a second to a second and a half, and then it drops out again. If your own anandamide drops into that receptor cell, something amazing happens. It's like rebooting the computer of the cell. And so it makes 3 decisions. It says, you're so beautiful, you can divide. You're middle-aged, you can carry on for a while, or you're too old, you can just die, or if you've got cancer, you can die. If you've got something wrong with you, too old, die. And what it does, this receptor, and this has been seen, I can tell you all about it, but just accept it at the moment. This receptor is electromagnetic, electrochemical, and electromechanical. So it examines the cell with the electrochemical and an electromagnetic signature. It finds out, because your whole cell is like a living organism. It's got a potential of electricity running through it. You don't actually burn food to go like that, right? You store energy from the breakfast that you have had. You store your energy in all these different places. So, when it discovers that you need to be dead as a cell, the electromechanical part takes over and it drops ropes into the cell, and these ropes then tangle along the mitochondrial DNA, which is the stuff which is it's like the fuel line. It keeps the cell alive. It's an energy thing. Electricity, magnetism. Now, when that cell gets tangled up, at some stage it goes and tightens up like a big liane on a tree. It just crushes these pipes and apoptosis occurs. That's cell death, programmed cell death. It's done by your endocannabinoid system. Your endocannabinoid system contains cannabinoids such as anandamide. There's one called a number 2 arachidonyl glycerol. There's another 4, and they think there might be another 4 or 5, which they're still searching for. But there's only THC or CBD, or we've only got a few things that the government has said is going to be effective. We get the bell-shaped response with the molecules that have been reduced, that is CBD and THC, and all the rest, CBC. You get this, if you add eating, you should get just a little bit better and better, faster and faster at the time, because these magnetic signatures are different in the acidic form as they are in the activated form. So there will be cancers which have got receptors that will not accept the activated molecule but will accept the acidic molecule, and the other way around. This is the problem that I see, and that is that for 10 million years our ancestors have been eating head, eating the seeds, growing it, well, not growing it for 10 million years, but for the last 10,000 years we've been using it as a crop. But we've been eating it for 10 million years, so we have been used to the acidic molecule in our gut. It's only been 10,000 years since some idiot grabbed the plant and hung it up in the tree. 2 weeks later came along and rolled it up and smoked it. That activates the molecules. What happens is that you smoke the joint is so hot that it activates the molecules and turns it into cannabis oil. What you are doing is ingesting cannabis oil into your lungs. It's a very legitimate way of doing things. It's cannabis oil. It's a way of getting it into your body. And any way you can get a cannabinoid into your body is legitimate. You can rub it on, you can poke it in your anus, in your mouth. Any way to get a cannabinoid in there, because this is the really big thing. Even though anandamide and a phytocannabinoid from a plant are so totally different molecularly, one's got a nitrous oxide thing in it, anandamide's got it's a bloody horrible thing. The magnetic signature of THC is so close to anandamide, and it's a totally different molecule, but it's the magnetic signature. It's not the fact that it's got 6 more bloody hydrogens and 3 more nitrogens and all of it. It's the magnetic signature, and every one of these activated molecules that has come from an acidic molecule has one chemical formula. It's C21H30O2. Now, everyone's THC, CBD, CBC, all of these activated cannabinoids are that exact same formula. But they've got very little subtle differences in where the angle is between the molecules, which changes the amount of the magnetic field, and some of them will go boom, bang, and get bounced off. Some of them, and I don't know which ones, this is why I'm saying you should eat the acidic molecules as well as the activated ones. 1 or 2 of them will go boom, and straight in. I don't know which ones. But if you take care to grow your marijuana, your cannabis, I'm not allowed to say marijuana, am I? Yeah, cannabis, if you grow your cannabis, and it doesn't matter what sort of cannabis you grow, as long as you eat it and make oil, smoke it, rub it on, put it in your bum, in your mouth. Those are the things which you've got to do if you are sick. If you want to prevent sickness, you do the same thing. I have seen a bloke who, he came to my trial and he sat down for breakfast and he was telling me about his cancer, which was that size in his lung. And he had just finished a big feed of steak and eggs and chips and bacon and I think there was tomatoes there. And he finished that and oh, bloody good. And then he got out his white ox and started smoking. And I said, hey, what's the state of your lungs now? He said, it's about that size, he said. About 3 weeks ago, he'd been just smoking cannabis and taking the oil from that size down to that size. And he was still smoking white ox like he was a bloody, I don't know. You know, he took no notice of anyone who said, don't smoke cigarettes because it'll kill you. And there he is down to there. I don't know how that happened because I've tried it with other people and it just goes and it stops. I mean, there is a huge genetic difference between us. And I don't know what you're made of. I don't know what anyone's made of. It's only the cannabis that knows. No doctor knows, but the bloody cannabis does. Because your body cannot distinguish between a phytocannabinoid and your own internal cannabis. Now, your own internal cannabis was evolved some 500 million years ago. And it's been getting better and better as time has gone on. It is now the brain of the immune system. The immune system, it's like the fat controller telling Thomas to go up and deliver some cellular tissue up there. If the fat controller gets a bit of dementia, you'll start putting toenails in your eyes. It's basically cancer, you know. It's the fat controller losing its mind. You must keep the fat controller happy. And you can only do that by having good exercise, you know, good food, sleep, doing all the things which people who have never smoked in their whole lives, like my grandparents who lived to 100, on good food, exercise, all of those things which what your mum told you, right? Just exactly what your mother told you. Because they know, because we've been looking at this for thousands of years, and it just becomes natural that the person that gets out there and does the work, they're going to be so much better off than the person who's there looking at TV and having a Coca-Cola or watching, and where's my McDonald's, and geez, I need to sleep. And you know, you've got to get up off your ass and do things right from the beginning of life. So the responsibility that you have got when you have a child is something beyond what you might think now. I've got to 69 to find that out. But most people don't find that out when they're having children. They never get taught all of the things which they would love to know. They just don't get taught. We probably should have an education system showing how to raise children. I think that would be a great thing, but we don't do it. In my trial, the judge was exceptionally good because he was a smart solicitor, and I told him I thought that I've never met a solicitor any smarter than a retarded baboon, and he still likes me. And so he said, I note significantly the affidavit from David Watkins that man suffered from both prostate cancer and bone cancer in his pelvis, ribs and femur, and he was provided the cannabis oil to alleviate his pain, and indeed found that it did so, whereas, listen to this is the judge, normal, legitimate medications were not very effective. That's in the district court. Do you understand what that means when a judge says the pharmaceuticals are full of shit and this stuff here is the number one? That's basically what he's saying. He's put his neck out on the block to say that. But I take my hat off to him, he's a loving man. He wants to see society improve, this man, Judge Roy Ellis. And if you ever hear about his name and you need to back somebody, back this man. He's very, very clever, if you can. The other thing that we've got to do is get braver. Now, when the cops came, I said, geez, I've been waiting for you guys. I actually said, what took you so long? And so they came in and they said, oh, you've been growing this marijuana. I said, yes, it's not only that, but it's the best bloody medical marijuana you've seen from 100 miles. So they came in. They wanted to know whether I had white powders and all the rest of it, you know, plenty of cash, tab tickets, shares and all the bloody rest. And they found I was living like a pauper with the capacity to make about $30,000 a week. And they could not believe it, that I was making oil and passing it on. And I was actually selling a bit of dope because it cost $9,000 for my power every quarter, right? It cost $9,000 a quarter to keep the bloody products going. If I could have grown outside, it would have cost me $50 a year. 50. But no, it cost me, you know, like 70,000 a year just to keep it going. So I had to sell something to keep it going. They recognised that. He said some people paid and some did not. He understood what I was saying when I said, so, you know, it's like the bloody National Health Service. If you've got no money, you can have it free. But that bugger over there, he's driving a Porsche. He gets it at a good clip, but not free. So that was how this guy figured it out. And there were no assets. I had no assets. I had an old car. All I was doing was I had a survey business which I had to run, which was a pain in the ass, and I had a factory which was twice the size of this, full of dope. So I knew I was in a little bit of trouble. I didn't realise that I should be put away for 33 years and 9 months. That was the longest that I was allowed to be put away for. And then the barrister said, no, it's okay. I've just seen that you get, it's only 22 years and 6 months, Malcolm, because you've admitted everything. And I got a 2-year good behaviour bond. And the judge recommended that I should be growing cannabis for them terminally ill. However, that's not how it's come about. When I talk to anybody, I am seen as a criminal. I'm not allowed a rifle. I don't want one, but I'm not allowed one. I'm not allowed to work on any position where there's responsibility because of this potential to go to jail for 22 years and 6 months. And here I am trying to help people, and this is the law, this is how they treat you. It's not very nice, and I have still got problems when I wake up in the morning. I sometimes wake up and say, Your Honour, I object. That's how much it hurts me. And I wake up wanting to fight. And that's not good. It's a sort of a PTSD thing. So, I don't know that I can say too much more except that the judge was a very, very smart man, and he did, for me, something extraordinary. He was praising what I did in this report and telling the government to get off its arse and do things. This is a man that, yeah, a smart man. Any questions?
I
Yeah. Oh, well, look, it's probably come from some mental illness, so don't worry about it too much.
Well, more people should have your mental illness.
I reckon so too.
Start growing marijuana in the factory just specifically to grow oil to help people, or did you start with marijuana for, did you know that, all the benefits to be able to do with oil? Was that the motivation?
Yeah, look, when you've been through what I've been through and seen your mother die when you're 30 and you tried everything to help her, she died of cancer of the pancreas, and it wasn't until 2 years later that the man brought back these books from America. I read them, I took them to my best mate, he read them, and we both said it's a medicine. That was the time when I really figured it out, and have been looking at it ever since. But I was too late for my mother. What was the question again?
Why did you start?
Why did I start?
Why did you start growing?
Oh, well.
Start growing marijuana to say, okay, I want marijuana to produce oil to help people I know because my mother died of cancer, or...
Yeah, it always starts with somebody that you know which is sick, right? And then you go, oh, I can help with that. And then they've got a bloody mate who's sick. And I haven't quite got enough, so I'll just put in a few more plants in. Until I was producing 5 plants a week, every week. And that was going into oil, yeah. Apart from a pound or so to get rid of, to pay for the power and shit like that, yeah. Yes.
So, what time frame did you...
Oh, well, I started when I had a relationship with a lady. We had 2 children, and she said, you will not grow, smoke, or do anything with marijuana until they have grown up and left home, and that was in the year 2000, and that was when I said, right, out on my road, we're doing it, or I'm doing it. So then the motivation was, I'd seen a couple of mates die and I couldn't make it, and when we broke up, I just got straight into it, yeah, in the year 2000.
Malcolm, we're going to grow our own medicine as well. We've got our own individual triggers for doing that. And we will continue to grow the medicine even if we do end up in a position like yourself, with the law, so to speak, saying, okay, I'm going to now put you on a good behaviour bond. So if you do this again, you'll go to jail.
Nah, forget that.
Yeah?
I'm like Dr. Pot. I'll be in there and I'll be bloody ripping this snorter right out of them, okay?
And how would you do that? Because we will be in the same position. We will continue to grow our own medicine.
No, you're not in the same position unless you've been looked at before and got a 20-year jail sentence. Just, I can't remember the thing that Dr. Pot said, but it was very interesting, and I quite liked that it was, he was going to put up a necessary defence, it's called, and there was 3 elements to the defence, and I can't quite remember them. There was the elements: immediate threat to life, there was no reasonable alternative to the, and proportional to the benefit. Those 3 things, if you can prove it in any one of your patients, and trial by jury, they don't want it. They don't want a trial by jury. You go straight to the Supreme Court, like Dr. Potts going into the district court, but they're not going to stay there in the district court because they're going to be wanting to look at this in the Supreme Court. So the bravery comes from actually having knowledge enough to be able to have a go at them. And if you do get caught, get in contact with the embassy here and they will tell you. They might ring me, they might ring Dolph, they might ring a few other people that will help you. That's what you do. But what the most important thing that you say to the police is nothing. I've learnt that.
Final question, what's the best plant to grow?
Okay. It's very simple. There was a man who discovered THC in 1964, and he said we must have an endocannabinoid system. I'm going to look for it. He found it in 1998, and he said in 1999, he said, this is Professor Raphael Mashulam, he said, all marijuana is good marijuana. I think that has been, I don't worry about what's in it. I just like to get bloody ripped at about midnight and start researching, you know, or...
Malcolm, we've got another question here. This man. Let's do this man first.
Sorry, yes?
Yes, Malcolm, you made mention to PTSD.
So,
You made reference to having PTSD. I'm a sufferer myself, and it's quite clear from the story you've told that you've been brutalised by the system, quite prodigiously, in fact. But do you find that the PTSD, is it also motivating? Is there an upside? Is it something that has served to accelerate your personal evolutionary?
Yes. Yes. No, it's like lighting a fire under your bum when you. So what I did was I started writing a musical comedy about my whole experience, and I came unstuck about 2 years ago because the guy that I was supposed to know everything didn't know everything, and the guy that's supposed to know everything is me, and I came unstuck because I couldn't know everything. But so I'm going back to it because that's what it does. When I got pulled over for a drug test, I went immediately and wrote out a mathematical proof that cannabis was the greatest medicine on the planet. Just immediately. It lights a fire under your bum. Yeah, that's right. And so it gives you a reason to be very, very passionate about it. Once you've seen what I've seen, you shake your head and go, why are these guys so stupid?
But people who don't understand may think that you're a fanatic.
Absolutely.
But it's not fanaticism, it's passion.
It's passion, and it's passion based on knowledge. I sit around and think about it, do a few, looking at some internet things, think about it. It's got to fit with everything that I've seen with oil and seen with giving people hair. I've given about 30,000 doses of oil and 200 doses of hair. And so if it doesn't fit with what I have seen, I don't like it.
So it's the evidence that's your salvation.
My evidence, the stuff that I have seen, is the stuff which I talk about. I don't like talking about everything else. Everything else is theoretical. But what you see and what people say... What they hear, what they say, everyone that I've talked to who's had the oil has gained benefit. End of story. Yes, there's a question here.
If you grow a plant and a dog gets hold of the plant and eats it, would it affect the dog?
A dog?
A dog.
Sorry?
I have 2 dogs in my yard, and if I
Yes.
grew a plant and
Yeah.
the dog got hold of the plant or ate some of it,
Yeah.
would it hurt the dog?
And I know the kick up the bum would hurt the dog. You could... Okay, the dog probably won't eat your cannabis when it gets bigger. It might like to eat the little leaves when it's smaller, okay? So just be careful of that, but they don't eat much when they're... I have had one dog that did that. Didn't last long. Yeah, mate.
Do you have any experience, or the people that you deal with and provide oil for, in cardiovascular illness, heart patients I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes. The reason I ask is because I've just had a massive heart attack and
Yes.
had experience in both the Queensland public health system and over here in New South Wales. I'm a cannabis producer. I've been thrown into prison a few times already. That hasn't stopped me. I produce cannabis oil. I'm here to learn how to get very good at it. And when I was operated on at John Flynn Hospital recently, the doctor, the cardiac team, came around to my bed and said, "What's your lifestyle been like?" And I've said, "Well, like most baby boomers, I've been a casual drinker. I used to smoke. I've quit. I've been using cannabis since I was 14 or so." And he said, "Well, you've got to stop all that immediately because that's what's causing all your problems." And so I said, "Well, would you mind showing me some credible academic peer-reviewed research backing up what you've said, because I think that's bullshit." And they got a bit upset and gave each other a funny look and moved on to the next bed.
Yeah.
But then when I had to turn up at Byron Hospital recently for cardiac rehab and just say to people, "Look, you know, I make cannabis oil. Is that interesting to you?" I was made aware of something that doesn't officially or legally exist, but it's the cannabis clinic attached to the Byron Hospital. And they're very nice people, very intelligent. They're going to hook me up and connect me there. But I'm wondering, do you have many experiences with fellow heart disease sufferers?
Yes, and what I've seen happen, the best results are where they start eating the seed itself. Getting your omegas in the right order is really the start. You must get a certain amount of cannabigerol into you. Cannabigerol is a cannabinoid which no bad gut bacteria can live alongside. So after 3 months of having cannabigerol, your gut bacteria comes back to normal. Your gut bacteria controls just about everything, and it controls your heart. Your gut bacteria.
And what's it called?
Cannabigerol.
Cannabigerol.
Yes.
Is obtained by eating buds, right?
Eating buds, a small amount goes into cannabigerol. When you activate, the cannabis, some of it goes into cannabigerol. It doesn't matter. You're going to get that, but you have to eat it, or make the oil.
Leaf as well?
Say again?
Leaf as well, or just the bud?
Oh, no, everything, yes. The trichomes are on the leaves and the bud.
And is this cannabigerol, is it broken down or damaged in any way by, I mean, I've been using alcohol to extract my oil.
Yeah. No, well, you're probably better to get a couple of ounces of head and boil it up in medium chain triglyceride, the coconut oil, the stuff which doesn't set. If you want something liquid, or if you want a balm, you do the same thing with the white. When you put it in the fridge, the coconut oil goes white and hard. If you strain, boil that up, not boil it, but get it warm for 4 or 5 hours, and then strain it. That is just a straight out of balm. You put it in the fridge and wherever you want. In your heart area, you rub there, you rub around the back, behind your heart. And the cannabinoids do seep into the bloodstream that way. There's no actual bad way of taking cannabis. And all I'm saying is that if you want to do well with a heart problem, you've got to get your gut problem right, and you've got to get your omegas right with your seed. But if you listen to Dr. Pott, he will talk about having a ketogenic diet, which is vegetables, nuts, no dairy, no meat. So that, and only eat half of what you should eat. I'll tell you a little story about some rats, where they put in rats in in 3 different categories. One, they gave them too much food, one they gave them just enough food, and one they gave them only half rations. So if you looked at the one and you averaged the ages up to 100 years old in human terms, the ones that ate too much food lived to about 60, The ones that had just enough food, they lived to 75. The ones who only had half the amount of food that everyone else had, they lasted to the 100 on the average. So it's the same in humans. If you look at all across the world where people are bloody hungry and they work all day and they last a long time, as long as they've got good shelter, warmth, and the food is fresh and they get good sleep and all of those things. That is how you live a long life, if that's what you want. Yeah? You want a long life?
There are some religious people who think that death is something, but I'll leave that to last.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Try it last.
Yeah, try it last, that's right. Anyone else? Yes. Of course you do. It's not fresh. You go to the plant and you pull it off and you eat it and it's got seed in it, that's fresh. Not fresh, but it's, you know, it's like olive oil, it's not fresh. You still use it, you know. And all of the other foods that we get, bloody almonds from Turkey, and they're not fresh because they've been, you know, you still eat them. Okay. Now, if you want to grow CBD, you
what
can
was
go.
the question, Malcolm?
I know what you said. I know the question was.
Just repeat it back for us to hear.
I know that and I'm not going to answer the question because I don't know the answer to the question. I don't know what the government thinks. I don't know what anyone else thinks. But what I can tell you is that if you want to grow CBD type stuff, you can get it off the internet, and it's the variety that you probably should look at is a thing called ACDC.
But could you grow that legally as an industrial hemp crop?
You no way.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Can you grow an industrial hemp crop?
You can't grow an industrial hemp
And you
crop
and
unless you get a license.
That's what I mean. And then can you grow an industrial hemp crop legally and then turn that into medicine? And
No.
Then,
No, you're not qualified to do it. You see.
Not make the medicine legally, but like what I'm saying is, so there's lots of different CBD types, right? So industrial hemp is the reason more people aren't just legally growing it than secretly making medicine, because the industrial hemp crop isn't high enough in the CBDs and stuff that you need. Is it a different type of hemp, is what I'm saying, to medicine generally?
Look, it's quite a strange thing. If you get ACDC, it might have 140 cannabinoids in it. If you get industrial hemp, it might have 60.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing that we are still trying to figure out. But I would suggest that industrial hemp, and I've grown it, and it's grown up as high as the whirligigs up there, and it's grown that round, and if you pull off 4 ounces off it, you'd be lucky. Whereas I've grown a bloody sativa, which has grown to the top of that speaker, and it's the same thing, and I've got 5 pounds off it. So you don't get much out of industrial hemp, and it's very, if you want to eat it, it's like you need a teeth like an African to get through it, you know, it's really hard. I say that because I looked after an African family and their teeth were so good, the dentist called me in and said, "Malcolm, I've never seen any teeth like this, ever. What are these guys have been eating? You know, they've just come from Africa and they've never had a bloody lolly or a can of Coke." No. So that's why I say teeth are like an African. It probably sounds a bit racist, but it's actually true. These guys have got magnificent dental work from the Congo. And yeah, I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Hemp doesn't have much stuff in it, really. It's
Yeah, that's right. Hemp is a poor relation to cannabis, as far as I can see. You get everything that you need out of an ACDC, high CBD plant anyway, that you will out of hemp, but you get more cannabinoids coming out.
Yeah, different purposes. Yeah.
I think some people in Europe took advantage of the fact that, hey, we've got hemp crops and we'll make some CBD oil. And they definitely do that in Europe, and they sell out CBD oils all across the world to us, Indoka being one of them. But of course, there's more terpenes and flavonoids and cannabinoids in the cannabis plants, whether you go for sativa or indica. Hence just another variety, but that's grown more for bricks and things like that.
That's right. So there's no such thing as a bad cannabis plant. There's just some are better than others, and it's only at the margins. It's not one is hugely better than the other. Everything is just marginal. THC, CBD, does much the same thing. Except that maybe if you were trying to figure out dosing, which nobody knows anything about, that you should have both CBD and THC and CBC and CBLs and that goes on in your medicine. You should have everything.
All right, that's all our questions done. Got a few more here.
Okay.
All right, two more, and then we'll call it for a lunch break, okay? So two more questions, and then Malcolm will be available to chat outside, and we'll all have lunch. So here we go.
Thank you. If you check ACDC as being high in CBD content, what's its THC content? Would it be I know one size does not fit all, but would it be a good strain to grow so that you would get the benefit of both CBD and THC? Or would you favour growing a separate strain for the THC?
Okay. Yes, I believe that you should be growing 13 plants each for your medicine. Some of them have got to be high in CBD, some of them high in THC, some of them high in THCV. THCV does not come out of that cannabinoid, the trichome. It becomes a cannabinoid a different way. It's called the racehorse of cannabinoids, and if you smoke this stuff, it gives you the high of your life for 2 minutes to 5 minutes, and then it comes down, and then you're back to the THC high. But this THCV has got some, it hits receptors which others don't. So you've got to have that stuff. You've got to have that. That's an African sativa that you need. So, for eating and for making oil and for smoking and for making balm. So the answer is always the same. Acid and activated and balm and smoking. Whatever way that you can get a bloody cannabinoid into you, do it. If you're sick.
One more question here to the audience.
I've been avoiding oils in the bottle because of the oxidation that can occur.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
I've been avoiding oils in the bottle because of the oxidisation that can occur. Do you know of that with the oils?
Yes, and I found a bottle of oil 2 years after I had been busted, and I opened it up and looked at it and tasted it, and it actually was just about the same as when I put it away, but it was pure oil. When you put it with olive oil or other oils, those oils can go rank, but you don't get much oxidation as long as it's in a brown bottle in the fridge, so that it's dark and cool. That's all you have to do to keep the cannabis very much alive. And yeah, well done.
All right. Well, everybody give a warm welcome to and thank you for Malcolm.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a little lunch.